Okay, I want to take you step by step through the process when people call me to help them with their mortgage situation. And I'm going to do this little on-screen video so that you can have a better idea of how it works. What I do is, in my business, I, of course, help people with their mortgage when they're in trouble. And a lot of times the mailing list of people that I get comes from the public records section of the courthouse once the house has been listed for foreclosure. Okay, it's only when officially it's been in foreclosure or listed for foreclosure, a date has been set, that the address of the house becomes available to the public. And you're probably getting many cards and letters from lots of different people, and all of them have a different approach to try to help you. And if you're interested in mine, you've got a letter from me, or you may have got a postcard that had your name on it. I hand address them because it's a personal thing with me. I actually sift through and look at the addresses that are listed, get the map of the property, and if it fits the neighborhood and the price range. I don't buy ugly houses. You know, you get that stuff out, ugly houses. You see that everywhere. Those are discount home buyers, and that's not me. That's not what I want. I want houses that are beautiful houses that people they just hit some bad luck. You know, they took care of their house. They really care about their home, and the house is in good shape, and there's not much repairs that need to be done. Those are the houses that I'm looking for. Typically, the price range of homes that I'm looking for fall from about $180,000 on up to $350,000. It could go more, but very rarely, very, very rarely do people in the $400,000, $500,000 and up range end up in foreclosure. It's just it's just the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, it's the hardworking people that, you know, their dream is to have a house, and you know, they get it, but they hit the skids, and life gets in the way. The payments can't be made, and it ends up going into foreclosure. So those are the homes that I'm looking for. And since you're looking at this video, you probably got a card or a letter from me, which the home that you're living in fit my criteria. Okay, so now you got a card or a letter. You're looking at my website. You're trying to determine what to do to salvage your credit and to save you know, yourself a mortgage disaster. Okay, so that's how I choose the homes. All right. Okay, so now you know how I get a hold of your information. It's all public information, and that's how I shop for my homes. Okay, so once you get the card or the letter, I hope that people, they always usually go take a look at the video that explains what I do on my website. And once you go to my website, you can browse around a little bit. But when people call me, here is what I need to know. Okay, I already know that you're having a difficult time with your mortgage, and we need to do something quickly because usually there's a time frame that something has to happen. But there's also people that get a hold of me that they're not under any type of a distressful situation. The only issues that they're having is that they need to get out of their home that they're in right now because of some type of reason where they need to move to another location. I had a lady one time who, her and her husband had to get out of their home because she was a nurse and took a job in another state. And she had to be there at a certain time to get started. And there was some type of a sign-on bonus for her because she was a nurse. There must be a shortage of nurses. Anyway, they hired her and they needed her to be at work at a certain time and date. Well, the home they were in, they had a mortgage, and the mortgage was on time, and they paid on it for several years. There was a little bit of equity in the home, but not a whole lot. and they really didn't have time to pack up everything, move to another state. I think it was Washington, way up there, and you know, deal with the home that was here. So they needed a human person, and I'm the one that they selected. I came in, took a look. We knew that there was equity in the house. Okay, I knew they had some money coming back, and that was no problem at all. It happens. But they had to get out in a hurry. So what I did was I made an agreement with them, and we struck up a deal where the equity in their home would be paid to them, but not until after I sold the home. There were some things that needed to be addressed as far as repairs in the home. And so what I did was I struck a deal with them. I purchased the home for the mortgage that they had left, the balance on the mortgage, okay, whatever that was. I can't remember exactly, but I took over their home. I continued to make the payments for them. They went ahead and moved out of their home and went up to Washington, and I kept in touch with them, let them know what was being done to the home. Okay, they signed over the deed. I now was in possession of the home, but I had a contract with them to pay them the equity in their home, that as if they had a realtor later. I was going to pay them later, but not right away. They didn't have to do anything right away. Well, what I did was I went in there, I made all the repairs to the home. They went on their way. I kept in touch with them. I kept up to date with what the repairs were. They knew what got fixed. And after all of that was over, I was able to relist it with a realtor. After the repairs were made, I included the cost. The value of the home increased, and we were able to sell the home for a much higher amount than they would have had they, you know, been in a hurry to sell it with a realtor. I didn't accept any offers. Actually, I sold the home for the price that I was asking because there was nothing to pick on. No one that looked at the home picked on anything. So after it was all over, I think they had about $62,000 that I sent them, which represented their equity. They had temporary housing, living in an apartment in Washington once they got the equity in their home, and it only took about 6 months. She went to work. Everything was fine. They were renting an apartment, and I sent them the equity, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they had that money to put down on a new home, and I think everybody's doing great. So that's another scenario. That's the one where you're not in foreclosure, but you do have to get out. And that's the kind of the way it works. I took over, made the repairs, and I made about $6,000 or $8,000 on the thing myself. So it worked out perfectly, and it only took about 6 months. So, you know, I was very happy. So that's how that scenario panned out. Okay, so let's take a look at another scenario. Okay, so here's another scenario that took place. Now, this was also, no one was in distress. The only urgency was that the people, was an older couple in their 50s, actually still had a mortgage on their home. I think they had refinanced it along the way, and the original 30-year mortgage got extended a little bit, but they had sufficient equity in the home. They had over $100,000 in the home. It still had about $182,000 left on a you know, stretched out mortgage that they refinanced along the way. But here's what happened to them. They contacted me. They had to get out of the home, and again they had to move to another state. And the reason was that their one of the two people's mother was elderly, and she needed someone to care for her because she had gotten to the point where she couldn't care for herself anymore. And these people were going to go. Now, the family had some money. They didn't want to put her in a nursing home because that's very costly. They wanted to try to take care of her in her own home somewhere else. So the urgency was they had to get out of their home here. And the same kind of scenario took place. They hired me. We made a deal based on the balance of the mortgage. We knew what the equity was. It was substantial. They didn't have to have it right away. and the home didn't need very many repairs, so I was able to get the home back on the market quickly. And you know, I did a little landscaping. I put a backsplash on the kitchen. I think we did some kitchen work. I remember that. Updated the appliances. That's what we did. And so that way, when we showed the home, there was not much for people to pick on, and we were able to successfully sell the home quickly. These people went on to take care of their mother or mother-in-law, and after I sold the home, I was able to make about $8,000 or $10,000. They got their total equity back out of the home, and that's how that worked out. Everyone was very happy. They were very glad to have someone here that was managing it for them and taking care of the payments that were still due, and they were able to go on their way. So there's another scenario where no one's in desperation, but they do have to get going, and they don't know what else to do. So I think they even left a lot of furniture in the house while we were showing it to make the home look beautiful and not just an empty shell. And I arranged for the, I stuck around, I arranged for the travel people, the moving company, to load up all their furniture, load up everything while they were gone, and it went on their way, and everything was fine. So that's just another scenario. It's something to think about. So let's take a look at if you are in distress. If you are in distress, the next set of frames is what we're going to take a look at, okay? Okay, I'd like to mention also in those scenarios, I forgot to tell you about this. One of the questions you may be thinking, if you're in a scenario where you're not in distress and you need to move out of the home, how are you guaranteed that you're going to get your equity at the end of the process? Well, it's very simple. When I strike on a contract with you and take over the home, you and I are going to have a contract that you know, the home equity is going to be sent to you. It belongs to you, and there's a document that you're going to sign, and it is going to be included in the closing, so the title company will have that information. I mean, that's how you secure that that equity. The title company, you can't. The new owners are not going to close on the house without the funds that are due to you dispersed and sent to you by the title company. Actually, they're the ones that handle all the closing of the house, all the money transactions, everything, you know, gets approved by you. You're clear as a bell how it's going to work. Then all of that gets submitted to the title company, and then the title company is actually the one who sends the check on to you. So that's how that works. Okay, now here's a scenario where you're in pre-foreclosure. You're behind on your mortgage payments, and that's why you're looking. That's why you got the letter that or the card that you have. You came to my website. Here's how this works for people who are in pre-foreclosure or possibly even foreclosure, and there's a date set. But you have trouble with your mortgage. You've missed some payments, and now it's time to do something. But well, here's the main thing. The motivation is you're trying to get out from underneath the mortgage, and you want to salvage your credit. You know that you've got a few late payments, but you see the worst is coming, and you need to act quickly to get out from underneath the mortgage and salvage your credit. Well, here's the way I do that. When you contact me, I already know you're in trouble. You know, when people call me, I know there's a situation. So, I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing to be upset about. We're going to try to get you out of it as quickly and efficiently as we possibly can. So you give me a call, I find out all the particulars. I want to know the address of the house. Well, what I start doing is looking at comparable prices of homes that have sold in your area. I take a look at what houses are selling for, so that I have a very good vision ahead of time of how to get out from underneath your mortgage. And the way that works is, let's say you live in a nice neighborhood, you just hit, you know, a bad streak in your life, you got some bad luck going, and you want to get out from underneath the mortgage. Well, I have to know what the mortgage, I get the name of the mortgage company, and most people all know that. along the way, mortgage companies actually change. I don't know if you knew that or if you did experience, but I need the one that you're making the payment to at that moment. So you give me the name of the mortgage company. I'll find out how much is owed to take care of the foreclosure or pre-foreclosure. Okay, we get you back paid up clean, and then now all that is necessary is a monthly payment to stay current. Well, you are not going to be able to stay in the house. Okay, you're not. A lot of people have that fear of losing their house. They work so hard to get it, and now they're going to leave. Well, you have to leave. I'm sorry, but you know, I don't save your mortgage and you keep living in the house. It just doesn't work like that. The way it works is simply like this. You're going to get out, but I'm going to salvage your mortgage. And when in the process of you moving out, I'll have, you know, I'll be in touch with you. I'll have a certified check to pay the mortgage current. And we'll all know exactly where we are at that time. Okay, when I know that you're out of the house and I can change the keys and the locks, the house gets deeded over to me. I take the check to the mortgage company and bring the mortgage current. That stops the foreclosure, or actually stops the pre-foreclosure. Your mortgage now is current. I'm in charge of the house. I do what I need to the house to get it ready to you know, find an ending point, either sell it or rent it to keep the current payments current. But in any case, if there's no equity in your house, in other words, if you know you've just been paying for a few years and those are only interest-only payments, that's not equity. You're not paying much to the principal. Let's say that since you bought the house, the value of the property around you has decreased, and so now that's kind of what's called being underwater in your mortgage. The house is not as valuable as what the price is to pay off your mortgage. Well, there's nothing that comes to you, but you're not going to your credit's not going to get ruined, and you're not going to have to pay all of those closing costs to sell it with a real estate agent. I simply take over the home. I buy it from you for what's owed on the mortgage. I take over the payments. I salvage your credit. It might take me 3 to 6 months or so, sometimes a year, of renting or making the payments to keep them current before I'm able to sell the house and make a profit. Pay off your first mortgage. You will know about that. I'll keep in touch with you. You'll know that you're free and clear of that mortgage, and I'll sell the house, and if I make a few $1,000s, well, then that's usually what happens. But the main thing is, if you need any type of a reference of you're going to be moving out of your house and you're going to be living somewhere else, you may need to fill out an application, and they're going to want to know if you made on-time payments. I mean, most apartments, or if you're renting from an owner that has a rental house, I mean, they're going to do a background check to see if you've made payments on time. Well, just give them my number, my contact information. I'll be glad to say that, yes, I was their landlord for the last year. They made payments on time. I wish they'd come back and live with me again, but, you know, good luck to them. And, you know, I'll give you a good report. Okay, your mortgage company's not going to do that. You know, they're going to be the first ones to tell someone, no, they didn't make the payments, they failed, and we had to foreclose on their house. I mean, that's not going to help you find a nice place to live. But I will do that. I'll tell them that, you know, you rented from me, I was your landlord, and everything was great, and I wish, you know, they'd come back. Because here's what, most of the time, the ending question on those background checks is this: would you rent to them again? Well, yes, I would. I absolutely would. As a matter of fact, why don't you give me their number? Because I do have some more properties I'd like to rent out. Well, they're not going to give me your number. When they hear that I would rent to you again, they usually call you and say, come on in. And so there you go. Okay, I'll do that for you. And remember, there's no equity in the home. The house is underwater. I can wait it out, or I can sell it and pay off the mortgage and just make a few $1,000s. Okay, so that's how that scenario works. Okay, now let's move along. Here's a scenario I see an awful lot of. And this is one of the most popular reasons that houses go into foreclosure, and that's because of divorce. The way the divorce deal works is, a couple of people, of course, they get married, they saved up some money, they go looking for a house, they find a house together, they, strike a deal, they have to get a mortgage for the house. And when the mortgage company does the application, we got two people, both of them are working usually. There's substantial income that will allow for the payments to be made. And both of the people, the husband and the wife or the couple, will be paying on the mortgage. Everything gets approved. They close on the house. The payments start at a certain date. And the couple lives in the house until one day things go wrong. Along the way, it's topsy-turvy. Then all of a sudden they get a divorce. Okay, let's just move right to divorce. And one of in the legal process of the divorce, usually, almost not always, but usually one of the two people ends up staying in the house. Okay, when the person who leaves the house exits the house, in the agreement, they usually sign what is commonly known as a quitclaim deed. The person leaving signs a quitclaim deed which releases all of their interest in the property of the house. The house and the property that it's on is released with a quitclaim deed. And the quitclaim deed you're deeding the one who's leaving is deeding all of their interest in the property to the one who is staying in the house. So the one that's staying in the house now has total control of the property. They've deeded their interest to the one who's staying. But here's the thing. On the mortgage, it doesn't happen like that. You don't deed your. It took two incomes to support that mortgage, and the mortgage company does not release the person who's leaving the house from the mortgage. The person who's staying behind either has to figure out a way to pay the whole mortgage, so the payment gets made, or they have to refinance the mortgage into their name only. So that the mortgage company will know who to come to in case something goes wrong. Well, the person who leaves the house, there's two or three things you got to keep in mind. The person who leaves the house, they're going to be finding another place to live. So their income that would normally go to supporting that mortgage they left is going to go towards the new place to live. So they generally are not going to be nice enough to continue to also make that mortgage payment from the house they left, so the person who stayed in the house can continue to live there with no problem. That almost never happens. And so, you can imagine the person who's left in the house is now left with a bigger burden. If you got a $1,200 or $1,300 house payment, well, the two incomes, you split the two incomes. Each person is paying $650. Well, now the person who's staying is left with that bigger burden. And of course, the person who's staying in the house is not going to support that. If the person staying in the house continues to make that full payment just to stay in the house, well, that is making the person who's left the house, their credit, looks good. So because of the friction that's involved in all of this, normally, you're faced with one or two options. Sell the house, liquidate everything, everybody get out from underneath it, and each person go live in their own house with their own mortgage. Or the person who stays in the house continues to make the payment because that's the house they picked out and that's what they want to do, but yet they're supporting the credit of the person who left the house. Well, I guess the third situation is, like I mentioned, the one who left the house is not going to keep putting money in the house they left behind, so the person they divorced can continue to stay there. It just doesn't work like that. If it does, I'm not aware of it. But anyway, as you can see the picture. So that's another reason that the burden gets so heavy the house payments start getting behind. If the person who lives in the house can't support the payments, it starts getting behind. They miss a few payments, and a partial payment doesn't justify a payment with the mortgage company. You start getting behind a few months, you start getting the pre-foreclosure letter, and then the person in the house starts looking for some way to exit that mortgage, but salvaging the credit. So that's one of the reasons I get called. So, I understand that happens, and it happens a lot. Sometimes a real estate agent steps in and tries their very best to just, get the house sold. And if there is equity, of course, the house gets sold. And because the mortgage was in both names, the title company is aware of the fact that any equity should be split 50-50. Between the persons, each of the persons, even though they're not living together. It would be two separate checks for the equity left behind. If there was a deficit, then each person who was on the mortgage will have to split the deficit. If it ends up being $20,000 in the negative after you sell the house, well, each of the persons that were on the mortgage had to pitch in the $10,000, and that's kind of tough to do. So what I do is I come in and take over the whole mortgage. The person who's living in the house and the person who left are notified that, I'm taking over the house payments, salvaging both of their credit. The person who's in the house, will again have to leave. You'll have to leave if your house gets foreclosed on. And then once I sell it or fix it up, sell it, or do whatever is necessary to get out from under that mortgage, both people are notified that the mortgage has been paid and everyone is done that way. So it's either it goes to foreclosure, you sell it with a real estate agent, or you deed it over to me and I take over. I assume the mortgage, and that's the three scenarios, and you just have to kind of play out which one might work best for you in the end. In any case, you're going to lose the house. So that's how that works. Okay, so let's move along. So now you've heard most of the scenarios that could possibly happen when you are in a mortgage situation where you have to exit the home, or you got to make a move because you're behind in your payments with your mortgage. Okay, so which way do you go? If you play the victim, you can run and hide. Here it is on the screen. You can run and hide. Well, that's not going to solve any problems. You go a little farther, you pretend it will go away. Well, it's not going to go away. We all know that. You wait for foreclosure and you get kicked out. Well, you absolutely don't want to go that far because nobody benefits at all from that. Or you can make a turn and you can do the short sale with the real estate agent, or you can try to do it yourself, sell the house. If you and the short sale basically is you owe more on it than what you're able to sell the house for, possibly saving your credit. But if it goes the other way, which is a short sale, is you owe more on the house than what you can actually sell it for. You don't want to spend any money on the house to fix it up, to bring the value up to at least breaking even. You can't list the house on the market for enough to cover the mortgage and the closing costs, because you might be pricing your house way outside of what the houses sell for in your area. It's very difficult to sell it that way. And then, of course, foreclosure, and you ruin your credit. So those are the conventional ways, or you can call me. And what I'll do is I'll come out and evaluate, if you haven't figured it out, I'm taking over your payments. I'm taking over your mortgage. You exit the house. You deed the house over to me. I now own it. It's the same way with foreclosure, except that your credit doesn't get ruined. When the auction goes to the courthouse steps, your deed legally is then transferred back to the mortgage company. They now own your house. Well, if you just deed it over to me, I'll write a contract with you to purchase your house for what's owed and salvage your credit and make the payments. That's what I do. Okay, but that's the main thing. And so here's what you absolutely don't want to. You don't want it to come to the notice to vacate. You don't want to get a notice to have to leave your house. If you get to the point where you receive the eviction notice, the notice to vacate the home, of course, you've stayed there all the way to the end. The foreclosure has taken place. The mortgage company needs to take the house back over. You're still in the house, and the sheriff shows up with a court order forcing you out of the house. It's very rare, but I have seen it actually happen, and it's not a pretty picture. By that time, everybody's totally distraught, and it's not a pretty picture, but that is what the ending result is to get you out of the home. Okay, so what do? Well, here we are. If you call me and I purchase your home for the balance on your mortgage, okay, then I use I'm down here in Texas. Okay, I don't know where you are, where you're looking at this video, but I'm in Texas, and this is kind of the standard scenario in all states, okay, but every state has a different mortgage situation. I use the standard Texas real estate forms. It's the same thing your real estate agent would use, or anybody would use, or any title company. It's the purchase and sale form that was adopted by the Texas Real Estate Commission, and it's a simple form, and it's kind of detailed. It's about 8 pages long. But I would sit down and go over it with you and show you everything that has to take place to get you out of your home and out of your mortgage situation. And then that's the standard purchase and sale agreement. And then there's 2 other documents. And the second one is the second one here is the assumption of your note. Okay, I'm going to make an agreement with you using the standard Texas Real Estate Commission form. That what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the other form was a purchase and sale. This one is an agreement to assume your note, and the responsibility of the payments now will fall on me. I'll pay off the deficit that you owe right now, bring the note current, and then with an agreement with you, this will all be submitted that I will take over the payments from here on out. And then the third and final document that I'll sign with you is the deed, the actual deed that is supporting the ownership of the home. You will be deeding your home over to me after I purchase it with the agreements that I've showed you. And once the home is deeded over to me, I become the owner of the home. I'm going to take that deed document down in these documents and record them at the courthouse so that it's public information that you've surrendered the home and it all belongs to me, and then you'll have a contract with me showing what my responsibility is after all of that. The deed is what gets auctioned off at the courthouse if it goes to foreclosure. Many people show up. A lot of people will try to purchase the home and purchase the deed for, what's owed on the house. But 9 times out of 10, it's the mortgage company that gets the deed back, because the value of the house is typically less than what's owed on the mortgage. So people who try to buy these houses don't always find a real good deal. So the deed is what you'll deed over to me, or if you go to foreclosure, it'll go back to the mortgage company. And at that time, it's called a REO, real estate owned by the mortgage company, and you still have to get out of the house. So, work with me. I'll try to get you out as simply and quickly as possible, and have a happy ending at the end of the whole deal. But that's what I do. That's the scenario. And if you would like to speak to me and see what I can do for you at no cost at all, simply give me a call and I'll work with you. I know that it's a tough situation, and nobody likes to see this happen, but eventually, sometimes it works this way. And if I can help you, give me a call. My number's on the screen. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.